What ruins a movie instantly? Background actors in fight war scenes waiting for their turn to attack the main character. Shitty fight scenes where I can barely tell what I am looking at. When the trailer reveals the entire story. When the characters have the misunderstanding and break apart trope. Then the come back together to resolve conflict. I am so sick of it. Especially when the misunderstanding could easily be avoided in the moment if they just saw the simple solution staring at them in the face. When it is so dark you actually can't see what is happening. Also characters that mumble their lines. Drives me nuts. When they repeat the same sentence 2, 3, 10 times in the story for no reason. Just to have a kind of motto. Main characters being invincible while everyone else dies from one punch. I get that the main characters have to survive or they wouldn't be main characters. But at least make the damage somewhat realistic. Breaking the rules they set. Forced romance. Sometimes movies don't need it and that's okay. Whispered dialogue. Ear-shattering action sequences. When people figure out someone's password in literally no time. When they whisper a super important point of the story. And you miss it and feel confused for the rest of the movie. That all the major issues could be solved by a simple conversation, but instead no. I don't have time to explain. Leading to forced conflict from misunderstanding. Running through wilderness in heels for the majority of a movie. Irksome. In superhero movies when the balance of someone's abilities constantly changes. Especially in fight scenes when a character could end the fight in 2 seconds but that doesn't allow for an epic battle scene, so instead that character just randomly decided to avoid using their most valuable abilities. This completely takes me out of the moment. Characters that are brought back alive just to keep the show moving. Showing and then telling anyway, treating the audience like idiots. When there's a scene that's just advertising a brand. When you know an actor was chosen for the role for their fame and not for the casting edit. Fixed a word. But holy moly, it seems like lots of people also hate this. Hear that, movie studios? We hate this. When the heroes survive an overblown car crash that would have crippled or killed most people. Only to walk away with a scratch. It's not very realistic. Even for an action movie. Scene, just let me explain, no storms out. Reality, just let me explain, okay? So why did you text your ex it's a birthday surprise? He owns an engraving company now. I got you something I needed engraved though. Cool edit. I have turned movies off that have totally hinged on this plot. I understand you can be already angry and not wanting to listen to what they have to say, but actual stable adults in trusting relationships do not do this. Find another plot device, writers. This one is dead, edit too. For those saying pick another engraving company, then maybe she knew his talents and chose him specifically because she knew he was really good at his hobby, now career. Besides, people can split amicably. Poorly fleshed out character motivation and intelligence. Like an astrobiologist illogically taking off their protective gear on an alien planet. A real astrobiologist wouldn't do the one thing you absolutely not supposed to do, and now they infected. And it was just a lazy way for the screenwriter to get from point A to point B. Poor communication between characters. When setting up or resolving conflict depends on characters illogically choosing to withhold information from each other. Because there's no time, or I'll explain when we get there. More lazy writing the older I get. The more it takes me right out of the story when lazy writing shows through. Characters acting out of character, being morons just to make the plot work. Immediately makes me see them as puppets for storytelling rather than people, and I stop caring about them. When the two main characters fall in love quickly. Especially if they start out hating each other. Most recently, Jungle Cruise. It would have been a good movie without them falling in love. They could have just been friends. I will say when they have a whole well-designed spacesuit or futuristic outfit or something that has a helmet to it or face cover that would normally always stay on or be on 80 of the time. but they just decide to never wear it or are constantly taking it off to remind us of the famous actor who is playing that person. I've also seen a few movies where a character will have a whole really cool looking spacesuit or battle attire, only to ditch the whole thing at the beginning and go the rest of the movie looking like the most generic person ever. Overanimated, overacted friend of the main character. I can't help but notice that characters will often have intense fights and be landing multiple hits on each other, but they will both remain beautiful after the fight. Have directors not seen how people look after a UFC fight? Bare knuckle fighting completely fricks your face up. A forced romance between two characters which doesn't add anything to the overall plot. Annoying as shiz. When you can't hear what they are saying, so FFS can't follow the plot, and the next minute your ears are bleeding from gun noises, fighting, yelling, or anything loud. WTF do they do that for? When the story includes the magic was inside you all along. Glitch. Cringy dialogue. Takes me right out the scene. In fact, I want to leave the scene. When serious injuries, gunshots, stabbing, hit by car only affects the protagonists for a second, then they ray right back into action like nothing happened. But if you sneeze on a henchman, he's dead instantly. Edit. The comments most mentioned offenders: Black Widow, Starship Troopers. Yes, it is satire, I get it. The public has mentioned it continuously. That's why it is here. Netflix, The Punisher, John Wick 3, Game of Thrones, Arrow, stabbing, Prometheus, C-section. When they use CGI to make an almost 80-year-old man look like a 40-year-old, but he still moves like an 80-year-old when trying to kick a poor shopkeeper's ass. Time period movies where every car looks like it just drove off the lot. What cars never get dirty in movies? The spoiler-heavy banners at the local cinema. Heavy makeup and perfect hair. How am I supposed to enjoy a post-apocalyptic movie when the lead actress looks like a beauty pageant contestant? Drives me insane. A bad accent. Can't say much for other people, but shaky cam. The later Jason Bourne movies for me were completely unwatchable because I couldn't tell what the frick was happening. Another personal thing that takes the wind out of some movies for me is when they crowbar in the title of the movie towards the end. Edit. I just remembered. As a horror fan, poorly explained monsters that have no rules. I am specifically talking about Bird Box, where the monsters can seemingly do anything and everything. When they force dialogue to put you in context at the beginning of a movie. Hi. Didn't you just moved from New Jersey? All because your mom passed last year. Yeah, but at least I am 22 and I have a passion for. Today, 23 of March 2002, is the new school election. I wonder who will be winning. I wish you were president cause you are super responsible and introvert. Yeah, me too. But I am not that popular or pretty. I wish it could change in one day. Empty cups. Cringy and inappropriate use of Gen Z slang. Something completely illogical. Like a sneeze when a murder is 3 feet away, or a random phone call. Or when they don't decide to call the police and call their friend 10x without them picking up. People driving in films and talking and never looking at the road. That ruins it and makes it not believable. When they give out the whole plot in a trailer. Probably cringy pop culture references that will be soon outdated. The simple stuff that would never really happen. It doesn't ruin the entire movie. But the scenes where one spouse will wake the other by hitting them in the face with a pillow. Then the one that got woken up says okay, I am up. Then chuckles and everybody's happy. BS. Nobody does that. Wake anybody 30 or older up that way, and you may end up a murder victim. Or the action movies, where a cop saves the country from bad guys and doesn't write a single damn report. Shoots 87 bad guys. And back to work the next day. Good work, Johnson. You're a hero. And at the police department, there's a dumbass fruit basket on his desk. Firing more ammo than the gun actually holds without reloading. Car keys in sun visors. Hacking a protected computer system in seconds. When you identify the protagonist love interest 5 minutes in. Somehow. Palpatine returned. When the villain is just bad for no reason whatsoever. Sound in space cars exploding when they fall off a bridge cliff, etc. 389 bullets in a magazine, hacking a super secure computer in 30 seconds, enhancing crap quality pictures so they can read a letter number plate, etc. Ads. So you wonder how I got here. Retelling the same story over and over and over with nothing new to contribute since fear out of ideas. Irrelevant romantic subplot. When I can't hear the dialogue over the background noise. Trying to explain unexplainable things with quantum mechanics. Nanotechnology. Wormholes. etc. Scratching the DVD. The exotic foreign country yellow filter. Incorrect science. You only use 10 of your brain, for example. Poor CGI effects in a brand new movie or excessive reliance on CGI. When the plot drags out. Bad acting. I watch movies with subtitles. When they speak a different language and it just says speaks foreign language, especially when it's not just a few lines, but actual dialogue. Children that are emotionally, philosophically, linguistically intelligent far beyond their years. Very often a tired plot device in rom-com style movies. Among others. Tiny overacting Buddhas. Let kids be kids. They don't need to articulate the mysteries of the universe. Pisses me off when the 7-year-old child of a dead parent intuits that deceased mom would want romantically cautious dad to find love and be happy. Spoken like the Harvard-educated therapist from the car seat. Maybe I am too cynical. Maybe it's lazy writing. I am not sure. Unnecessary exposition. Knowing the story from a book and the adaptation is just not meeting expectations. James Corden. When the trailer explains the whole freaking story, shitty theaters making their own spoiler-heavy banners with Photoshop. When someone tells you spoilers, frick you, Ethan, cringe script. When it starts following a familiar formula. Basically when shiz gets predictable. Having Fantastic Four in the title. Characters in an apocalyptic and or survival situation, but they look perfectly groomed. Makeup. Nice clothes. What is the decision process on this kind of crap? And over-the-top Shrek scenes. I like to keep my corn and entertainment separate. Unrealistic surroundings jargon. E.g. using a made-up pit for a plain scene with fake screens and switches to fool the audience. With the pilots using dialogue that they normally wouldn't use. Movies that make you turn the volume way up just to be able to hear people talk, and then action scenes your neighbors can feel what's happening in their walls. Immediate never watching you again vibes from those movies. Characters not showing emotion when someone dies. Often they look a bit sad for one shot. And then the movie continues like nothing happened. Totally takes me out of the movie. Really blatant violation of some very common aspect of science, physics, number x200b. Similarly, being in a major city, like Nick, and they turn a corner and are in a completely different neighborhood. Like there's 50 million people who probably just noticed that. When the dialogue is for dumb people. Like in The Witcher's opening scene, a deer gets accidentally mortally wounded and the scene ends with the sound of what we can assume is the deer being mercifully killed by Geralt. He goes to the pub and is asked if he'd like some food. He could have replied, "I am full," but he says, "I am full of venison," as if our minds can't connect the simplest of dots. Shrek. No, seriously. When I see a movie labeled action thriller, I want action or thriller. I do not want the undercover spy to start diving deep inside some random girl who may or may not be involved in the plot. A naked old man staring at you from the corner of the room. Well, according to CinemaSins. Narration. Unnecessary reboots and continuations of older movies. We need a tiny bit of blood from you proceeds to slice palm in half. Superhero movies where they downplay one character's power to shine a light on another character. Or make a character notably absent to avoid character interference. I am looking at you, Doctor Strange. Inconsistent vernacular. Particularly with period films. When the villain has an important character in their grasp. and is able to kill them, but decides to throw them for no real reason. Immediate flashback after introducing a few characters such that you know they don't die in the flashback. People from a certain non-English speaking country speaking to each other in English with accents, rather than having it be authentic and speak in their native language, with the use of subtitles. Stupid movie physics, anything computer related, especially gaining access. Gwyneth Paltrow. Bad writing. A scene with bad CGI. Scenes shot in the dark, the long night, Game of Thrones. They should have learned from Lord of the Rings. I watched to see what the frick your characters are doing. Edit. Making the scenes on purpose dark or hard to see should only be used in cases where you want the viewer to have difficulty knowing what's happening. This is mainly used in horror and thriller, because you need the viewer to be on suspense about what's hiding in the dark and use that inherent fear of the dark we have to your advantage. But for war battle scenes, the user is already on suspense, and is already with the pacing. Making the screen darker for him/her will only bring frustration. Extremely bad directing. Not like something inside the movie, but when I look over and my wife is on her phone instead of paying attention, it ruins a movie instantly for me. She has the attention span of a gnat, a lovely gnat. Beyond edit. I should specify Beyonce as an actress, not soundtrack. Dialogues that are almost silent compared to any other sound in the movie. I don't want to sit there with a remote controlling volume all the time. That one scene where the main character is at a bar in their lowest point of their lives and they just shoot their shot with women like Gal Gadot and the woman whispers "call me" and leaves her number. It's extremely specific, but you'd be surprised how many movies have these types of scenes. Perfect hair, makeup and costume after a big fight, chase, run from the zombie apocalypse, coming out of water, etc. When a main character is overpowering lifelong trained warriors after just starting to fight in the last 30 minutes. Kids under 5 in the theater. When movie makers underestimate your IQ. At that scene you be like, Simon, there is no way that happened like this. Undermining a huge plot point. Like reviving a character after they die. It really lowers all the stakes and your investment in the show. Because the writers basically admit that they'll do anything to keep the plot on track. Shrek scenes that provide nothing important to the plot. When any character says this isn't a movie, it's real life, or any variation of that. Why not just write in the script that the actor should look right in the camera and remind me I am watching a movie? Most Shrek scenes in movies are terribly unnecessary and makes me want to stop watching. James Corden. Spoilers. Not seeing Danny DeVito in the beginning credits. When Disney decides to buffer indefinitely, it's the only streaming service we have that does that. Having an unlikable main character. 1. Having a friend they call on the phone who helps explain their character's backstory through clunky dialogue. Cheap and easy way to avoid any sort of meaningful character development. I know Christmas is hard for you, Karen, ever since your dad died in a snow accident too. American flag fluttering heroically in a shot. Especially superhero films like Spider-Man or Superman. Patriotism is fine and yeah, hooray all American, but your flag doesn't mean freedom and heroism to everyone. 3. Mentioning Sydney, Australia. Way better places in Australia than that shithole. Get on Google. 4. Slow-mo shots that chug, bounce or freeze frames because there wasn't enough footage shot for that scene. 5. No zombie children. Were they all eaten? Quiet mumbling dialogue. 6. Music trends. We've had the Hans Zimmer horns and are now haunted by isolated reverb tracks of famous songs from the past where music was less commercial and actually good. 7. Marvel Easter eggs or remake cameos. If I want to see the original actor, I'll watch the original film. I probs have more but I'm half asleep. Shrek scenes. Zero interest in Shizty Corn breaking up a movie.